That's what domination looks like. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, with 8 minutes left in the game at Ryan Field that has long since been decided. Ohio State 45, Northwestern 3. The Buckeyes with a near pick six on the last Northwestern offensive possession that was taken in a couple plays later. The Buckeyes have dominated from pretty much the opening snap, although Northwestern mounted a bit of a drive on their second or third possessions and got the running game going, got a field goal to make it 7-3, but the Buckeyes have not looked back. And the trap game that was pegged during the offseason, this being the second of a few, Nebraska being the first, and that game was 38-0 in the first half of a 48-7 final. The Buckeyes not challenged by anyone thus far in the season. That should end next week in Columbus against Wisconsin. But right now, the Buckeyes have an extra day to prepare for the Badgers after a 45-3 rout against Northwestern. The phone lines are open. 860-325-3687. The phone lines are open. 860-325-3687. Other college football going on. Fresno State leads UNLV 21-10. That game nearing halftime with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. We have Marshall, a winner over Florida Atlantic, 36-31. And then we've got Pitt with a big win over Syracuse, 27-20. And I say big win, not too sarcastically, because the Panthers are now 2-1 in the ACC. And they have a couple Coastal Division wins, ACC wins, as the Panthers now 2-1 in the ACC with a big win at Syracuse, now 5-2. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Well, Marcus McGee, Sport 4.
Had I guessed who was going to call me first, you would be on the short list. How are you, man?
I'm doing okay. You?
I'm good. Buckeyes rolling.
Yeah, I see that. Oh, man, I didn't watch a single snap of the game, basically, because I had no interest in it. Because I thought the Buckeyes were going to go in there and beat up on Northwestern.
You're a smart man.
So I'll be honest, I didn't watch a single snap of the game. But the main reason why I'm calling is for a few reasons. Reason number one, I'm going to tell you how the Maryland Terps are going to beat Purdue. That was last week. Indiana.
You're a little late on that one. Okay. Indiana tomorrow. Okay.
I know we're underdogs. We're going to pull off the upset tomorrow. I think the Maryland team that you see against Syracuse, Howard, and Rutgers, I think that team's going to show up. It's at home, 3:30 game. I think that team shows up. I'm going to say we beat Indiana kind of easily. I have it 45-28 Maryland. I'm not sold on Indiana at all. People are saying Indiana has a good defense. Show me that, please.
So, McD, if you know my email address, markhunters.tv@gmail.com, you could certainly, we could work something out in regards to an Indiana and 17-point spread that you would offer me. I would be all in on that.
I don't do silly bets like that. I do the real bets. I don't bet on Maryland, by the way.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
well, you gave me a final score. You gave me a final score in the game, and you're making a prediction on the game.
True. I don't bet on my team because it's too emotional.
Okay.
Like that.
That's probably a good strategy on your part, a good principle to live by. Then that way you can just watch your team play and root hard and not get your emotions wrapped up in the wagering, and then just be able to watch your game in peace and just root till the cows come home.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to decline you, but you think it's going to be within 17 points?
I would expect Indiana is going to stay within 17 points of Maryland. Yes.
UNLV just broke off a big play for a touchdown. That's why I took a pause break there. But I think we'll see the team that showed up against Syracuse and Rutgers, and we'll go ahead and beat Indiana. This is a must-win for us as far as I'm concerned. If we lose this, we're not making a bowl game.
Yeah, well, we
That's what I'm
sized it up.
thinking.
We sized it up last week, and you thought that they would beat Purdue. I didn't necessarily lean one way or the other. I thought it was a 50-50 toss-up game, but we were looking at 6 to 7 wins then, and that was before the Purdue loss. So yes, they have to beat Indiana, most likely to make a bowl game. If they don't beat Indiana, then they're going to have to get a whole lot better and beat a lot of teams that look better than them right now.
Correct. I think I'm still giving us a shot against Michigan, Nebraska. I think we'll beat Nebraska, honestly. And then Michigan State, who knows? I mean, I'm not too confident about it, but we might go up there and beat them. I mean, but we are not being your Buckeyes. That I can guarantee you. I'll already take the L on that already. But that's where I am right now. I think 7-5 is very possible still. I'll back off 8-4, but I think 7-5 is still possible. But I'm hoping at least 6-6. But my second point that I want to make: what has happened to Stanford and Northwestern? They look god awful.
They do. Let's understand that Northwestern went to the Big Ten championship game last year and beat Utah in a bowl game. They had a top 15 to 20 team last year. They had to switch out quarterbacks. Clayton Thorson no longer there. They lost a lot of productivity offensively. The defense is basically back. And despite the score tonight against Ohio State at now 52-3, the defense is pretty good. The offense is beyond atrocious, anemic, just pathetic and painful to watch. It is difficult for them. It is painful for them to try to eke out a 4-yard pass completion. It's that bad. We outlined the statistics this week in a couple previews. They've thrown 2 touchdowns, and now that number still stands at 2 touchdown passes this year and 8 interceptions coming in. I believe they're up to about 10 or 11 interceptions against 2 touchdown passes in the year 2019. They are putting up passing numbers as a team similar to what you would have seen in the early 70s.
That's embarrassing. I mean, I only watched Northwestern once this year, and that was against Stanford, actually.
Yeah, I did too.
The first game. That's the only game I've actually really seen Northwestern. I was going to watch them tonight, but, I mean, I think this UNLV Fresno State game was better than the Ohio State Northwestern game. Personally, that's the game I have on right now, and it looks like it's going to be an interesting game here as Fresno State drives down the field. But basically, I mean, I thought Northwestern would at least make a bowl game this year. I know they were losing a lot of offense, which you highlighted, but I thought they would at least make a bowl game. I mean, they're not making a bowl game this year, let alone they might not even go 4-8. So let's see what happens there. The third reason why I'm calling you is because I want to see if you agree with me on a few upset picks.
Okay, let's have them. I will scramble to try to find my picks here. Go ahead.
South Carolina over Florida.
Okay. You want me to agree to these picks?
Agree or disagree?
I will let people know where they can find my predictions. There's a couple different ways that they can do that. They can go in the description section of any of the videos and go to Voice of College Football Community and sign up there. Or for the next 3 weeks, they can get my weekly predictions by texting MR Football. I've got it on the screen right now. Text MR Football to 760-670-3130. Get your free predictions right there. All right. You've got South Carolina coming back off the win between the hedges in Athens against Georgia, coming back and mounting another monumental effort as an underdog. This time at home, it's a 5.5 point dog against Florida. Gamecocks win it. Okay, we'll mark that one down. McD Sports 4 like South Carolina to pull off a minor upset against Florida. Okay?
Okay. Ole Miss over Texas A&M. Texas A&M. Ole Miss over Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, I believe, is a 6-point favorite on the road in Oxford. Rebels are the pick by McD Sports 4. Okay?
I like Penn State to win by more than 8.5.
Penn State covers against Michigan. I've seen 8.5. I've seen 9. Nittany Lions win it in a big way by a couple scores, according to McD Sports 4. Okay, duly noted. Penn State wins big over Michigan. Covers.
And then my last pick, I think that Arizona State covers, but Utah wins.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All right.
And by the way, one quick note about that game. How the hell is that game not on national TV? It's on the Pac-12 network. I can't get the game.
The Pac-12 makes a lot of mistakes, McD Sports 4, and I noted the same thing when I went through the schedule, is that this is the game of the week. Well, it could be argued Washington, Oregon's also a big game in the Pac-12, but this is turning out to be, the way the standings look right now, to be the game of the year in the Pac-12 South. And the Pac-12 has not figured out a way for one of the major networks with a contract with ESPN and one also with Fox and FS1 to get the game on national television. Arizona State and Utah, a game that most likely will decide the division title or have a huge factor in impact on the Pac-12 South. Yes, that should not happen. That doesn't happen to any other conference in college football. You give me any other division impacting game for the conference or the division championship, and it's on national TV. You are absolutely correct. There's no reason for it.
Because I was very angry when I found out that I couldn't watch that game, because I think it's going to be a good game personally.
Oh, I think so too.
So,
I am going to be intrigued to see. I'll have to catch the condensed highlights.
And I like Oregon to cover the spread as well. I'll take Oregon to cover the spread against Washington.
Okay. Oregon -3 in Seattle against the Huskies, taking on Washington, and that will be a big step, of course, toward Oregon winning the Pac-12 North Division. All right. We got all your big selections. So what do you basically do? You scan the schedule, look at the point spreads, and just kind of make your picks for the week. Do you keep track?
Absolutely.
Okay. How you doing this year?
500 against the spread.
Okay.
But
All right.
I'm like 30 games above 500 overall, but
okay,
it's whatever.
I certainly don't do myself any favors by picking all the top 25 games plus all the relevant games against the spread. That's not the way to build up a good record, but I'm still 86 and 68, 18 games over 500 against the spread. That's picking all the top 25 games.
Yeah, I mean, some of these top 25 games, like Minnesota and Rutgers, I mean, I wouldn't pick that even if you paid me to pick that.
Well, I'm picking these games against the spread, so I had to decide against the 28.5 points.
I would take Rutgers as a 28.5 points personally for that one.
Ohio State with another interception, 2.5 minutes left, Buckeyes 52-3. So that,
Mark,
yes.
I'll let you go, Mark, because I've been on here for 12 minutes, basically.
Thanks for the call, man.
I'll let you go. I'll call in if there's anything else that I feel like saying. But thanks for taking my call, and go Terps.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time. Mark Rogers, TV, the voice of college football, post Ohio State's demolition of Northwestern with 2 minutes left. Buckeyes just intercepted another pass. They lead 52-3. We had several previews this week talking about the putrid, inept Northwestern offense, and they showed up in classic fashion tonight. And the Buckeyes are rolling. I typically, as you guys know, I show this off from time to time, just take scads and scads of notes during these games. I will just, every drive, I'm taking notes on every drive during these games. But I got that far. I took about 4 or 5 lines of notes, which read Ohio State converting 3rd and 15, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 8. Chris Olave burns the defense, blah, blah, blah. I note who he burned. JK, second touchdown on a F route. Marshall Faulk, LA Rams concept as determined by Brock Heward, 14-3 Buckeyes. Northwestern run game, actually decent the first couple drives. Isaiah Bowser gaining some yardage. And then the Northwestern mistakes with the penalties. Riley Lease dropped a couple passes. The Northwestern wide receivers were not helping out Aiden Smith, the quarterback, whose numbers at halftime, I believe, were 3 for 12 for about 44 yards. And he had thrown some laser shots. Made some bad throws, but threw some laser shots that they dropped. There was one throw to the sideline that was remarkable that Aiden Smith made, where he threw it right over Sean Wade and right between two defenders to the sideline. Picture, pinpoint perfect. Northwestern wide receiver drops the ball. Tough catch, drop the ball. Better throw than it would have been a catch. Buckeyes get the turnover, but they're just going to take a knee with $1:42 left. Did you see the punt snap by Northwestern? This depicts Northwestern football in 2019, and I think the program's in good shape. They have built first-rate facilities in recent years. Pat Fitzgerald doing an outstanding job. It's just these type of programs, Northwestern, Duke, Kansas State in the day of Bill Snyder. We'll see what they have with Chris Kleiman. They're cyclical. There's a cyclical nature to it. They have to build up. They have to just kind of build up like lower market baseball teams do. They're not going to be able to compete every year. And Northwestern, just the combination of what they lost, the combination of the schedule early in the season, many people looked at their first 6 games and said, this is a 1-5 football team, regardless of how good they play. They're just not going to win these games against Ohio State and Nebraska and Michigan State with their depleted offense this year. Hunter Johnson has obviously not been the answer. No, he has not played well, but he again has gone from a situation at Clemson where he was stepping on the practice field with 4 and 5 stars all around. Probably it's been a state of shock for Hunter Johnson to go to Northwestern and see the lack of foot speed, quickness, elusiveness, athleticism, leaping ability, all the above, and try to play with those players. Because if you just look at Hunter Johnson throw the ball, yes, you can see why he's a 5-star or was a 5-star. But anyway, the punt snap on the punt for Northwestern just rolled along the ground. It didn't even get past the protection. It was pretty amusing. Next play, Buckeyes get the ball. Next play, Chris Olave, picture perfect pass from Justin Fields on the run, threaded the needle to the sideline, and the Buckeyes were off and running. 52-3 final, so they cover Ohio State in 28. They cover the spread, and I believe they've covered the spread each and every week, I believe, since week 1. As is noted by Ellie Shapley, loved Ryan Day pushing to cover the spread before half. I'm sure that was on his mind. NCIS Fanatic 21 will beat Wisconsin next week. Wisconsin doesn't have a pass game. So that's an interesting point. So every time we've talked Wisconsin football, most notably with Tyler Hunt from SB Nation, we've talked about that. And I've asked him the question, and really he can't answer it at this point, to say, Jack Cohn with the game on his shoulders. Justin Fields has yet to play in that situation. Down 4, 75 yards to go for the touchdown, 2 minutes left. How are they going to respond? Well, neither Jack Cohn or Justin Fields has been in that situation. Justin Fields has more or less not carried the offense, but had a bigger load of the offense than Jack Cohn, of course, with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. Master D on the line as well. Every game is not going to be perfect, but Ohio State is firing on all cylinders. Ohio State-Wisconsin is going to be a great game. NCIS Fanatic 21, Florida beat South Carolina 27-13 or something like that. Ohio State took some time to get rolling in the first, but wow, they came out in the second. Chris Whitman, thank you for joining the show. Master D, AP poll should put Ohio State at number 2. Well-deserved. And then there's also the top 25 that actually makes sense. Master D, of course, where the Buckeyes were number 2 last week behind LSU. We've got, of course, the Penn State-Michigan game coming up as well. So the analysis on the Ohio State game is obviously that they were just way too fast, athletic, too good, too strong, too much for Northwestern. And we pretty much projected that, as anyone with a brain did, that this was not the spot for Northwestern to pull off the major upset, as they have in other years against other teams. Coming into this season, Northwestern had won, I believe, 15 of 16 Big Ten games, 15-1 against the Big Ten in the regular season, not counting the Big Ten championship game against the Buckeyes. And it was only 10 months ago that these two teams met in Indianapolis, and Northwestern was certainly up to the challenge for 3 quarters in a 24-21 game before the Buckeyes scored late and poured it on and won 45-21 or 45-24 maybe, something in that range. Hope you've checked out all the previews we've provided for you for Week 8. I counted 13 previews for all the big matchups tomorrow: South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, Arkansas, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Oregon, Washington. We've got a preview on that and a number of other games as well. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Of course, there are a number of ways in which you can help us build the channel. I am asked almost every day by a number of you, and I appreciate the support. People asking, how can we contribute? I'm going to shoot a video. I keep doing the college football thing because that's why we're here, but I'm going to shoot a video and basically outline how you can help us build the channel, because it's our aim, with your help, to build the best college football channel there is. You can get my Week 8 predictions a couple different ways. The most encouraged way, because you're joining our community, the Voice of College Football community. The link will be below in the description section of any of the videos. This is a live stream, so it's not there right this second, but the link next to Voice of College Football community in any of the description sections of any of the videos. And it's a lot more than just my predictions. For example, we've got a guy that has taken me up on my offer. So this is about 7 times that I have done exclusive live streams with you, the viewers. And you will start to see those here on YouTube, where a member of the Voice of College Football community requests, hey, I want to live stream with you, Mark. We can kick around college football for a half hour or talk about whatever you'd like within reason. And so young gentleman by the name of Bo took me up on that, and we are going to record a live stream coming up this Tuesday, I believe. And you will be able to see that. And again, if you would like access to some exclusive content and, of course, my predictions, as well as just knowing that you are helping us build the channel and contributing to Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football, please join our Voice of College Football community. The link is in the description section of any of the videos. Like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. I'm going to run down Week 8 on a Saturday and see what games mean what. Before we do that, let's check out this Pitt game. Most of the eyes of the nation were on the Ohio State game because of, obviously, the national championship aspirations of the Buckeyes and the team looking that good to date. But was there really any doubt that this game was going to be something like this? I predicted, what did I say? I said 41-10. That was my final, because I picked the Buckeyes to cover the spread, but not by much. 41-10. Here we get 52-3. So it was a matter of the Buckeyes basically just naming the score. All right, let's check out this one, because I did not see much of this. I did DVR this game. My son wanted to watch baseball, and as soon as the Buckeyes kicked off, of course, we were going to watch Ohio State play. But this was a much bigger game, actually, in regards to a division championship. Pitt wins over Syracuse 27-20. Panthers led 24-6 at halftime. Syracuse made it close. They did score a touchdown with about 2.5 minutes left. Could not get the ball back. Kenny Pickett had a nice day. 18 of 33 passing, 232 yards, no interceptions, 2 touchdown passes. Pitt was led on the ground by A.J. Davis, good-looking back, 16 carries for 103 and a touchdown. Valik Carter ran 6 times for 30 yards as well. Vincent Davis, 8 carries, 16 yards. Okay, Pitt receiving, led by Maurice French, who's been in the program for a long time, 6 catches for 92 and a touchdown. Aaron Matthews, 2 for 57 and a touchdown. Pitt now 5-2. More importantly, 2-1 in the Coastal Division, trying to defend their division championship. 2-1. They lost to Virginia, so they lose the tiebreaker to the Cavaliers, but they've got the win against Syracuse now, and I believe they've got the other win against Duke. Of course, Syracuse has no opportunity to win any division championship at 0-3 in the conference. You've got to be near perfect in the Clemson division. Why don't we just start calling it that? The Clemson division. It's no longer the Atlantic division. The Clemson division. You basically have to beat Clemson head-to-head and then be almost perfect. And nobody's doing that. Syracuse, of course, almost did it last year. Did it 2 years ago when they went 4-8, but they couldn't beat anyone else. So Clemson's won the Atlantic division. We can say that right now. Most of us said it in the offseason. Syracuse now at 3-4 is going to have to upgrade quite a bit to make a bowl game. 3-4 on the season, 0-3 in the ACC. They've got Florida State on the road, Boston College, Duke on the road, Louisville on the road, and they finish up with Wake. I'm looking at Syracuse winning maybe one game the rest of the season to finish at 4-8. This was discussion in the offseason because when we discussed conferences and conference strength, and I obliterated the ACC on a regular basis, one of my main points is that Syracuse was the number 2 seed in the ACC in 2018, and there is no way that Syracuse, as the second best team in the ACC last year, could have matched up against any other Power 5 conference's second best team. Not Michigan or Northwestern, whomever it was, not Georgia, certainly, LSU, not Texas, not Utah or Oregon. That's how bad the ACC is. Syracuse was the 2 seed last year. They lost to Notre Dame by 33. So they come into this season, and the thought was, okay, was that an aberration for Syracuse football? Did just the stars align for Syracuse last year in finishing 10-3? Or is this a program on the rise under Dino Babers, who's an impressive guy? Impressive guy. I don't know that he has it to win at Syracuse or really anyone else does on a regular basis. It's difficult to recruit to Syracuse, New York. The football playing in New York is decent nationally if you compare it against the norm, but when you're playing teams from the South, mostly in the ACC, the better programs are in the South in the ACC. It's tough to keep up if you're at Syracuse. So if Dino Babers is able to win 6 to 7 ball games most seasons and have that outstanding 10-3 kind of year like he did last year every 5 or 6 years, that would be keeping his job, doing his job. But I think Syracuse has basically returned to form. They are 0-3 in the ACC. They lost to Pitt tonight by a touchdown. They lost to Clemson by 35. They also lost to NC State on the road by 6. They have to go 3-2 in their final 5 games to reach postseason play. And that, again, is Florida State on the road, BC, at Duke, at Louisville, and Wake. I don't see them going 3-2 against that schedule. So Syracuse is going to miss postseason play. It all started with the embarrassing loss, giving up 63 to Maryland. For Pitt football, 5-2, 2-1 in the ACC. They have a chance to defend their Coastal Division championship, although they lose the tiebreaker to Virginia. 860-325-3687. We've got about 58 people on the line. Would love to hear from you talking college football. Let's run through week 8. All right, week 8. This is what we're looking at. At noon, we've got Clemson at Louisville, ABC game. West Virginia at Oklahoma as a 33-point dog on Fox. BTN has Wisconsin, Illinois, and Champaign. Florida, South Carolina, the most competitive game on paper out of that group. Noon, ESPN, Auburn, Arkansas, SEC Network, Purdue, Iowa, ESPN2. ESPNU features Houston and UConn. So my selection right there, no doubt I'm watching Florida, South Carolina out of the gate. That is my number one game. And I've got 3 screens to choose from. But I am kind of an old guy who finds it difficult to keep track of more than one thing at a time. So it's difficult for me to track 3 games, although I've got 3 on at the same time, and I will DVR all those games. I don't get around to watching them, but there's a security factor there. It just feels right. It just makes me feel better to know I'm DVRing basically every major college football game I can every Saturday. And I rarely go back and watch them. But it just feels right. So again, my number one game by far, Florida, South Carolina. I think that's a 60-minute football game. Gators are a 5-point favorite on the road. My second choice is probably going to be, from a competitive standpoint, Purdue, Iowa. The Hawkeyes now with 2 losses in the Big Ten don't look to be a factor in the division race at this point. They're going to have to beat Wisconsin head-to-head, then hope for the best. If Iowa beats Wisconsin, Wisconsin loses to Ohio State, then the Hawkeyes move back into contention and in the driver's seat of the Big Ten Western Division. But that's what's going to happen for the Hawkeyes. So maybe that's my number 2 game, Iowa-Purdue. And then I've got a sneaky feeling that Arkansas could hang with Auburn for a while, although I don't get the SEC network. And so therefore, maybe I start with Clemson-Louisville just to keep track of the defending national champions. But once that drops off the radar at like 28-3 in the second quarter, and then I move to the Wisconsin-Illinois game. But front and center, Florida, South Carolina, the most competitive game on paper at noon tomorrow. Then we get to the 3:30 games. But before that, there's also a noon game on FS1 that I missed. Texas Tech hosting Iowa State. Competitive game right there. That should be a good one. I believe the Cyclones are a 7-point favorite. At 3:30, CBS features Mississippi State hosting LSU. We've got Oregon-Washington on ABC. We've got SMU and Temple on ESPN2. Minnesota Rutgers on the Big Ten Network. Tulsa, Cincinnati, ESPNU. There's no question I'm watching Oregon, Washington first and foremost, with an eye on LSU and Mississippi State. And that's pretty much what we've got. SMU Temple could be a really good game, but the group of 5 kind of takes a back seat for me based on what I cover, what I'm interested in. And certainly the group of 5, all due respect to you group of 5 fans, love the group of 5. It's a viewing staple for me on Thursday and Friday night, but it's difficult for me to find group of 5 games on Saturday that are going to knock out the other games. All right, so 3:30, Oregon, Washington, first and foremost, with Mississippi State, LSU on the back burner. Also, Indiana, Maryland, of course, McD Sports 4 told us that Maryland is blowing out Indiana. If you have the ACC network, sneaky important game at 3:30 tomorrow Eastern time. Virginia hosting Duke. At 4 o'clock, Baylor, Oklahoma State. At the SEC network, Vandy hosts Mizzou at 4 p.m. Let's get to prime time with Kentucky and Georgia on ESPN at 6 o'clock. As McD Sports 4 pointed out, the Pac-12 network is airing Arizona State and Utah. UCF East Carolina at 7 o'clock on CBS Sportsnet. Tulane, Memphis, ESPN2. Also primetime games, Washington State, Colorado are playing on ESPNU with a rare Pac-12 game on ESPNU. Washington State and Colorado. All right, the big one, Michigan and Penn State on ABC at 7:30. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, a good SEC network matchup. Wake Forest and Florida State on the ACC network. Tennessee, Alabama should be one that I'm going to watch for about 12 minutes before it's 28-0 in the first quarter. But Alabama, Tennessee on ESPN at 9. We aren't even going to get to see. This is the Pac-12 network here. Arguably the biggest game of the day is Arizona State, Utah, certainly in the South. That's on the Pac-12 network. Then the Pac-12 network doesn't even give us a game to go to late night. USC and Arizona's on the Pac-12 network. Late night, we've got BYU hosting Boise State, ESPN2, and Nevada, Utah State on ESPNU. So prime time, it's Penn State, Michigan, first and foremost for me. And really, unless Kentucky surprises Georgia, that couldn't happen, could it? I'll keep an eye on that one. And then late night, aside from Penn State and Michigan, the better games are on the ACC and SEC networks that I can't see myself. So my view, I might be here a lot, right in this chair, taking your calls late night tomorrow night. Not that I don't do that each and every Saturday night. 66 on the line to talk college football, 860-325-3687. Let's check out the live chat. And let's keep in mind also that the super chat is on. There's a number of ways that you can help us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. The super chat's on. Like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe. Christmas is coming. Shop at Amazon using the link in the description section of any of the videos. BetNow.eu. We had our guy Volunteer Roadshow, Bobby Miller, on today to talk about the cause for Sam Strong, the hashtag Sam Strong. You see that on the in the description section of the videos as well. BetNow.eu. You get an extra 100% added to your account. They double your money at BetNow.eu when you use the promo code MRTVCFB. And again, the call-in number is 860-325-3687. Eli noting that Purdue's going to have a difficult time making postseason play. Chris, if Ohio State plays their best football, plays, I guess, would be their best football the next 2 weeks, then Mark will have Ohio State at first or second. Chris, right now, I got the Buckeyes number two. Number two. Eli, Indiana also touch and go in terms of getting to a bowl game. So right now, Indiana did not lose a game out of conference. So they played the typically soft non-conference schedule, which sets them up right now at 4-2. So they've got to win 2 more games. They're 4-2, 1-2 in the Big Ten. Maryland on the road, Nebraska on the road, Northwestern at home, Penn State on the road, Michigan, and Purdue. So you would think Indiana's got a 50-50 shot at Maryland. They've got a 30 to 40% chance of winning at Nebraska. They could beat Northwestern at home, certainly based on what we've seen of the Wildcats this season at 1-5 and not being able to get the ball in the end zone. So Indiana's got a decent shot of getting to 6-6. They need 2 more. Most likely those are going to come against Maryland and or Northwestern and or Purdue. Purdue, on the other hand, is 2 games back of Indiana at 2-4. So they really have to step it into gear to make a bowl game. And they've got a tough assignment tomorrow at Iowa. So they're probably going to go to 2-5. Then they're going to have to win 4 more games against the likes of Illinois, Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Indiana. Purdue is not going to get to postseason play. Let's say they beat Illinois and Indiana. That gets them to 4 wins. Then they've got to beat Northwestern and Iowa or Nebraska. Yeah, Purdue, it's going to be a difficult road for them. Will Justin Fields be another longtime OSU quarterback who disappears when he enters the NFL draft? Todd, good to see you tonight, and everyone else. Willie, Ohio State, Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, College Football Final Four 2019. Ohio State, Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama. Meaning Clemson loses? All right. Eli, true or false? Indiana will get to a bowl game this year. I just looked at it, and I don't remember. They're 4-2. So they win 2 other games. Sure, they beat maybe Purdue and Maryland and get to 6-6. Hit the like button, please. Master D, like and subscribe. That helps us out considerably. So if you like the videos, that's what YouTube loves. They love the algorithm of liking the videos, and that pops it into the recommended videos and helps the cause. The cause is when we want to continue to crank out and post college football content like nobody else, analysis every day. And for me to continue to do that, I got to have some level of encouragement and revenue and so forth. So we appreciate it. Eli, talking Liberty football with me. Eli, with me. 860-325-3687. Eli, if you want to talk about the Liberty Flames, I will pull up the schedule and I will let you wax poetic. Michael, I hope our Buckeyes are ready for a 12-round fight and don't get gassed when a good team starts punching back. Yes, they have yet to see adversity. Roberto, Wisconsin will never beat Ohio State, can't even beat them in 2011. Never. So the two teams played in the 2017 and 2014 Big Ten championship games. They played in Madison an overtime game in 2016 and in 2012. So get this, the last 4 times Ohio State and Wisconsin have played, twice in the Big Ten championship, the famous 59-0 drubbing in 2014, and then the last time in 2017 with the Buckeyes decidedly winning, despite the final score being 27-21. And then the 2 times in Madison in overtime. The last 2 times the Buckeyes have played Wisconsin in the regular season, it's gone to overtime. Ryan Shazier popped Monte Ball at the goal line on a 4th down play, caused a big fumble. Buckeyes won that game in overtime, 21-14 in Urban Meyer's first year, 2012. And then they went to overtime in 2016. Buckeyes won that 30-27. Roberto's going back to 2011, in which Wisconsin won the Big Ten with Russell Wilson at quarterback, but Braxton Miller hit Devin Smith with a bomb at the gun. Last play of the game, Hail Mary to beat the Badgers, even though the Buckeyes had an awful season with Luke Fickell as the interim head coach. 6-6, lost the bowl game to Florida. The time before that the Buckeyes and Wisconsin played, I think they had a game in 2007 that the Buckeyes won. Wisconsin last beat Ohio State, I believe, in 2004. Let's check me. I can envision that game right now. 31-13 Wisconsin, I believe. I remember a big punt return at the Horseshoe. 2004. 24-13. Wisconsin beat Ohio State 24-13 in 2004. I was off by a touchdown. They did not play in 2005 or 6. Buckeyes won the game in 2007. Yeah, 38-17 at home. And then they played the other games that we talked about. They actually played in 2009 as well. That's the game I'm remembering. 31-13 Buckeyes, 31-13 at home against Wisconsin in 2009. They also played a game in 2013 where Jared Abbrederis had a huge game for the Badgers, but the Buckeyes still won, I believe, 31-24. 2013. 31-24 against a Wisconsin team that finished 9-4. All right. I'm sure I'm putting you guys to sleep trying to remember scores from 15 years ago. Crank 3295. Is this a Buckeye show? Asking for a friend. We talk college football. We talk everybody. Crank 3295. This is the voice of college football, Mark Rogers TV. The voice of college football. So if you love college football, you lock it in right here. If you love Ohio State football, yes. We cover the Buckeyes on a regular basis. We've got a Wednesday night live stream dedicated to Ohio State at 9 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday night, and other post-game, pre-game analysis. We had 2 separate preview segments on Ohio State-Northwestern for this week. So yes, Crank 3295, lock it in right here if you love the Buckeyes or your friend loves the Buckeyes. We also have an exclusive Ohio State channel, Mark Rogers TV Ohio State. So lock it in there as well. Just heard on the Big Ten Network that this is Northwestern's worst home loss since 1989. Eli's trying to figure out who's going to squeeze into postseason play. Louisville. Well, they're losing tomorrow, but they got the big win against Wake last week. Let's see. Louisville right now stands at 2-1 in the ACC, 4-2 overall. So they've got to at least play 2-4 football the rest of the way to make it. Louisville takes on Clemson tomorrow at home. They've got Virginia at home. They probably lose both of those games. They go to Miami, and since that game's on the road, they probably lose that one as well to fall to 4-5. They've got NC State on the road, Syracuse at home. They probably win that game. They go to Kentucky. That's going to be a toss-up. They are going to be on the border. Eli, that's a great call in terms of a difficult selection for postseason play. Louisville at 4-2, Clemson at home, Virginia at home, at Miami, at NC State, Syracuse at home, at Kentucky. Can they win 2 of those games? I say they beat Syracuse, and maybe they squeak out one other one. They just did beat Wake and BC, so they certainly have a shot at Northwestern and at Kentucky, but those games are on the road. They won the last 2. Well, they beat Wake on the road. Yeah, I'm going to say Louisville gets it done. They squeak through with 2 more wins. Utah, Arizona State for the Pac-12 South title. Let's not forget about USC with 1 loss in the Pac-12. Eli, I guess not caring about my Purdue-Iowa selection of a game that I would watch is a backup game at noon. What if Minnesota beats Wisconsin? Yeah, they did last year. Minnesota, I believe, has Wisconsin at home this year. They went to Camp Randall last year and won. Yes, Jared. Golden Gophers, a dark horse. They should get to 9-0. They've got Rutgers and somebody else soft in the Big Ten coming up after that. Maybe it's Illinois. They already beat Illinois, somebody else. They should get to 9-0 or 8-0. 8-0. Then they run into Wisconsin, Iowa, Penn State, Memphis, Tulane. Old Toby likes Penn State big. Minnesota's a big topic from a lot of folks, except, of course, McD Sports 4, who believes they're overrated. When you keep covering the spread and going over, Vegas will love you and put you higher in the standings. They should be no worse than second right now. Captain Genius. I'm missing the point here, Captain Genius. Vegas having an influence on the national rankings? Got some Ohio State, Wisconsin predictions. Buckeyes 27-24. Buckeyes 38-17. Buckeyes 45-17. Baron Browning missed this game, of course. Gerard mentioning that I think it'll be different if Browning is back. Borland can't bring Taylor down. He's not quick enough. Todd, Mark, you ever see a team make adjustments so fast in a game? You know, I can't say that I was really locked in on this game. I had the game on. I was talking to my son. Knew it was going to be a blowout. Wasn't really impacted by this particular game and analyzing the adjustments that needed to be made. If we're talking about this Ohio State-Northwestern game. Anything else here? Anything else? And I remind you guys all the time that if you send a comment or question and you want me to respond to it and I don't get to it in the live chat, copy and paste the comment or question and just send it in the comments section of any of the videos and I'll see it. And I'm overdue on responding to viewer comments, but I will get to viewer comments very soon via video. And I also want to acknowledge a lot of the recent subscribers. I want to acknowledge a lot of and recognize the old timers and the folks that have contributed on the super chat as well. Ohio State was on probation in 2011. Technically, they were on probation in 2012. The players were on probation from the tattoo gate in 2011. Terrell Pryor, Mike Hall, Boom Herron, DeVere Posey, and a linebacker. The kid that had the interception in the Sugar Bowl against Arkansas that sealed the game. I can't think of his name. Those 5 players were suspended for the first 5 or 6 games of 2011. That forced Terrell Pryor to make the decision to enter the NFL draft, the supplemental draft. And Herron, Posey, Hall came back for the back half of 2011. They played better, did the Buckeyes down the stretch, but they still lost a ton of close games and finished the regular season 6-6. Then they were technically on probation in 2012, the 12-0 year. So what happens if Ohio State makes Wisconsin one-dimensional? It seems if you stop Taylor, who else do they have? Cephas? Will Cohn be able to handle the pass rush? What do you think, Mark? I think that Ohio State is going to sell out on Jonathan Taylor. I think that they've had success against similar Wisconsin teams. And if you look at the prowess of the likes of Monte Ball and Melvin Gordon and other backs, Jonathan Taylor, the last time they played Jonathan Taylor coming off his freshman campaign in 2017 in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State has had success by holding that main back to a low yardage output. If I remember off the top of my head, Jonathan Taylor only had 41 yards against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And yes, they then force the hand, and Ohio State is going to have quite the battle up front as pass rushers against Wisconsin's offensive line, but they're eventually going to break through and cause havoc in the backfield. The Buckeyes have a sizable advantage of speed, of course, and athleticism. All right, let me catch up here. Don't see anything else. Will Kyle Trask be the only quarterback never to start in high school or first 3 years to make it to the NFL? Terry McLaurin playing well with the Redskins. The Buckeye is like an acorn, like a nut that is not edible. As far as I know, it's pretty useless. Is what it is. But you see them all over the ground in the fall, in the state of Ohio, coming off of Buckeye trees. So they blossom and then they fall, and it's like an acorn. It's a nut. Even after they waterlogged the field, we still mud stomped them. Reminiscent of the 1967 NFL championship game, the Ice Bowl, where supposedly Vince Lombardi ordered the Green Bay grounds crew to hose down the field prior to the deep freeze overnight, so that would negate Dallas's speed. There it is. Cheryl fills us in. Buckeye is a poisonous nut that grows on a tree. Squirrels eat them. College football, Jared. Wisconsin running back ratings out of high school. Monte Ball, 40th best in his class. Jonathan Taylor, 24th best. Melvin Gordon, 18th best. These guys are nobody's in high school. Good point. Got a call coming in? The call will start at the beep. All right. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. Reasonable Gump here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing okay. Doing okay. So you guys got a big win tonight. So I understand that you weren't really that invested in the game.
Well, it went about as I thought. I watched the game. I had the game on. I was watching every play, but I wasn't like locked in, like trying to figure out, okay, did they make this adjustment? What are they doing here? From that standpoint, I wasn't locked in, but I watched the first half, every play, except for the plays that I missed because I flipped over to baseball during the commercials and then didn't make it back in time. But basically, and then the second half, had it on. I had the game on the entire time, but yeah, I was not invested from an analytical standpoint. True.
Well, Northwestern is kind of like the Ole Miss or Arkansas of the Big Ten. So I suppose it doesn't really feel great when you club them every year, huh?
Well, Northwestern just went to the Big Ten championship game last year. They've had really good teams the past several years. They've won 10 games, I think 3 of the last 5 years. They've won a few consecutive bowl games over some decent programs like Utah and Kentucky the last 2 years. So let's put Northwestern more on the recent. I'll put them on the let's put them in the South Carolina category. Oh, they're better than South Carolina or have been the last few years. They're generally in that Missouri, South Carolina tier. Let's put them there.
Yeah, I'm going with that. I guess I was kind of talking more overall historically. I don't ever remember Northwestern being known for football.
Well, they're Vanderbilt. They're Vanderbilt. They're not Ole Miss. They're not that good. Or Arkansas. Arkansas is a historically good school.
Well, I would have said Vanderbilt, but you also have Rutgers to consider. So.
Well, yeah, but Northwestern, my goodness, from the time I was growing up watching college football from the late 70s into the early 90s, they were Rutgers. They were posting winless seasons and 1-win seasons consistently.
Yeah, well, that would be, I might would like to watch a game between Vanderbilt and Rutgers this year because everyone kind of thought that Vanderbilt was going to take, a downturn now that they lost their quarterback, who was actually pretty decent last year. But man, I mean, I think they've won 1 game so far. They might win 2 once they're done with their non-con. But and I understand they're basically the Harvard of the SEC and all that, but still, you got to do better than that. We do expect you to at least win 3 out of 4 of your non-con games and steal one conference win at least in a season.
Vanderbilt would beat Rutgers by at least 2 touchdowns.
They're that bad, you think?
Rutgers is awful. Beyond off. Yes, Vanderbilt. My score prediction on that game, which we'll never know, I say Vandy wins that game 38-17.
You did an SEC and Big Ten video. I forget what was your out of 10 games for Vanderbilt from Rutgers?
8-2. I don't even know if Rutgers would win twice. Rutgers is awful. Like, I know Vandy's awful too, but like when I say awful, I mean awful.
I think the major disagreement I had with your video there was I think I actually thought that it would be a little more even. I thought Vanderbilt would win 6 or 7. I can't remember what I commented, but I think you said Northwestern and Tennessee would go like 5-5 or something. No, that's got to be flipped. But Northwestern beat Tennessee 9 out of 10 times.
Oh, really?
That's sort of a joke, but anyway.
Reasonable Gump. I'm going to the Rutgers box score against Indiana. The starting quarterback for Rutgers against Indiana last week in a 35-0 loss, Johnny Logan. Excuse me. Excuse me, young man. Johnny, I apologize. Johnny Langan went 5 for 13. Guess how many yards he passed for? He completed 5 out of 13. Guess how much yardage Rutgers squeezed out of that passing attack against Indiana on 5 completions.
Are you about to tell me 5 yards, like 1 yard per pass?
I'm about to tell you 1 yard, like 0.2 yards per completion. They completed 5 passes for 1 yard. Their leading receiver against Indiana, not an NFL team, had 3 catches for -4 yards. That's Rutgers football.
Why even have a football program if it's going to be like that? Okay, first of all, you know what, Mark? This is a great segue into the topic I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
All right. So, first, I got a question, and let's just be objective as we can on this. True or false? Power 5 schools and their fans, and basically anyone involved in Power 5, looks at Group of 5 schools as second-class citizens.
Absolutely. True.
Okay. We essentially treat them little to no better than FCS schools, right?
Well,
maybe a little better.
These are broad generalizations. I can't think I can't think in particular that the Stanford fan base is looking down at UCF right now after getting clubbed by 3 scores a month ago.
Every single Group of 5 school carries that kind of theme with it, that
sure,
if you beat them, nobody cares. But if you lose to them, then you're the laughing stock of college football if you lose to them. It doesn't matter who they are. All right, even UCF, everyone's still laughing at you if you lose to them, even though it's probably not deserved. I'm not saying this is deserved. I'm saying that basically Group of 5 schools, through no fault of their own in some cases, are second class, are a lower tier citizen or teams. So we do the same to FCS schools if they're ever played by Power 5 schools. But the thing of difference there is nobody cares because the FCS has their own playoffs. They don't care about not being in our rankings. They have their own deal. The only reason they jump ship and play Power 5 schools is to get a big paycheck, which is another conversation that I have a big problem with. But anyway, so no one's feeling sorry for them. No one's feeling sorry for North Dakota State, who win the national title every single year, but they're never ranked among any rankings that matter. But the problem with Group of Five schools is they're in limbo. They are trying to, assumingly, schools like Boise State and UCF are trying to compete in the Power Five postseason, but they're never going to make it there because they carry that scarlet letter on them that basically says they're not worthy. But so basically, they have nowhere to go at all. They have absolutely nowhere to go in the postseason other than if they get really lucky and go 13-0. Then the highest they can do is a New Year's Six bowl, and it's not even like one of the big ones. Like UCF was going to the Capital One Bowl. They weren't invited to the Sugar Bowl or the Orange Bowl. They were going to the Capital One Bowl.
The Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl. I get all the Florida ones mixed up sometimes. But anyway, you see, does what I'm saying make sense? Group of Five schools are actually worse off than FCS schools because they have nowhere to go. They're in limbo.
Oh, to play for a championship. They are in limbo. Absolutely, they are. Yep.
So wouldn't it make sense then to just separate out the Power Five into a different league? So we actually would have three leagues. We have FCS, then you could keep the FBS label for the Group of Five, and then rename the five Power Five conferences as FPS. Power football, whatever the hell you want to call it. And then give the Group of Five schools their own playoff.
All right. I've shot this video probably 10 times, Reasonable Gump. Yes, that makes you need to do one of two things. Include the Group of Five in some reasonable, tangible way in the playoff system, not theoretically that they're involved, that we consider them, because it's been proven that their undefeated teams can't make the playoff. So if their undefeated teams can't make the playoff, then they have no reasonable chance to make it. So they're unless they're going to be included in some tangible way, yes, we should separate the Power Five playoff system and the Group of Five playoff system, and at least they will have a legitimate playoff system. Sure. I've stated that many times. Absolutely. I agree with you.
And while we're at it, and this is actually something I was actually going to email with you about potentially doing a whole video on this, but while we're at it, would you agree that basically every conference has teams that are essentially dead weight? They don't contribute anything. Vanderbilt for the SEC, Rutgers for the Big Kansas for the Big 12. There's actually multiple of these teams. I'm just throwing out the big names right now. That they don't belong in Power Five football, at least. They don't. I think Vanderbilt might actually be able to make a bowl game if they were in the American Conference. Actually, maybe not. The American Conference is better than the ACC, but.
Well, really, I don't know that Vanderbilt is a great example because they have made postseason play on a fairly regular basis in recent times. I'm talking the last 7 or 8 years. In the last 7 or 8 years.
With the fall of Tennessee, yes, but that has not been the norm over history.
Oh, not at all. Nope.
But what use is Rutgers to the Big Ten? Football wise.
The thought at the time was that Rutgers, and this is laughable. It was laughable then. I remember shooting a video in what looked like in front of my closet at the time when I had about 4 videos posted at the time. But when Rutgers joined the Big Ten, I just slammed it beyond belief because the theory was that Rutgers would bring the New York City market to the Big Ten. Like anybody in New York City cares about Rutgers football. That was the thought process, that the Maryland Rutgers would bring in the Beltway, DC and Baltimore, and New York City. There are more Ohio State, Michigan, and Notre Dame fans in New York City than Rutgers fans by far.
I'll tell you right now, Mark. I was stationed in California for a year. Now I'm actually stationed right here in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Pretty close to Rutgers. And I can tell you now, there are no college football fans above the Mason-Dixon line unless you are near the city. And it has to be a good city. So there's fans near all over Columbus, Ohio. There's fans in Ann Arbor. There are no Rutgers fans. There's no people. No one's walking around New Jersey wearing a Rutgers shirt. When I was in California, actually, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings for the Iron Bowl one day, and everyone there was trying to watch baseball. No one cared.
There was no baseball being played in the last week of November, Reasonable Gump. So what are you suggesting? That the dead weight gets cut out of the Power Five and they go play with a group of five, and then they split the two levels of football and play separate championship games?
That's actually exactly what I'm suggesting, yes.
Well, there has to be a metric given to the separation of the two, of the dead weight and the Power Five. There just can't be this, you stink, you're gone. There has to be some delineation that's based on fact and metric.
Well, I guess trying to think of how I want to word this.
Reasonable Gump says you suck, you're gone. See ya, Vandy. Rutgers, you're gone. Kansas, you're gone.
I mean, okay, honestly, though, is anyone other than those fan bases actually disagree with what I'm saying here? Is anyone going to miss those teams?
I don't know.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So what is the standard, or what is the bot? Give me an example in each conference of a program that just barely makes your qualification, whatever that is. I know you haven't put a metric on it, but I understand your philosophy. But I just think we're going to basically be limiting ourselves to 6 or 8 teams in every league. And then you're going to have maybe the Minnesotas of the world. They're going to be the ones that are beat down into 2-10 range. And then we're going to say 5 years from now, Minnesota sucks. They go 2-10 every year. Well, they're playing Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin every week. So how many teams are you tossing?
So I'm not looking at where I had hypothetically drawn this up before. But like, for example, I think my idea was to take all the conferences, all the Power 5 conferences, and get them all down to 10 teams. To do it the way the Big 12 has it, where everyone gets to play everybody. Not this 14-team nonsense where even the Big 10, they play 3 non-division opponents. They're still years apart before Ohio State will play Wisconsin. They just happen to be in the rotation right now.
Well, I agree with that.
So, for example, starting with the SEC, I think the idea, Mark, my idea was to throw Vanderbilt out and then put Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas A&M back over to the Big 12 where they belong, and that took care of the SEC. Then going over to the Big 12, let's see, again off the top of my head, but Texas Tech was one. Got to get rid of them. I think I might have had Baylor or something. Oh, Big 12 needs to give West Virginia to the ACC. Geographically, that never made any sense at all.
Sure.
And then the ACC, I think I had singled out Boston College as one that doesn't really that I think could do a lot better in the group of 5 there. And again, I'm actually driving right now, so I can't really do all this from memory. But it's just you just kind of get my idea. There's a way to, if we could just separate things out and make it to where every conference had 10 teams, then everyone will play each other every single year, and there wouldn't even be any divisions either, because you don't need them. You play everybody. And again, I think it would actually be good because you would give the teams that historically cannot recruit. I mean, how is Vanderbilt or Kansas supposed to recruit when they're sitting next to, Georgia, Tennessee, or in the other case, Oklahoma, Texas, and stuff? How are they supposed to compete with that on a yearly basis? If they were on a lower tier, then I think they could have a lot more success, and then maybe their fans would actually go to football games. Because I'll tell you, it's not that hard to take over Vanderbilt Stadium. I keep bringing Vanderbilt up, by the way. I don't hate Vanderbilt. I'm just more familiar with them than any of these other schools.
Sure.
Last year, I saw my team literally go to Vanderbilt, and we had their stadium, and we had 80% of the seats. How do you even do that? That's not supposed to happen.
All right. So what I did was kind of opposite with the same objective in mind, but opposite to what you did. So 3, 4, 5 years ago, I cut a video where I expanded to 6 power conferences and 12 teams per conference and 72 teams. So I brought the best of the group of 5 and elevated them to the Power 5 and made it a Power 6 and geographically made it make sense. So there's a narrative here at Mark Rogers TV where we try to make sense out of things like the top 25 and the conferences. So what I did was I recreated the Big East. I moved Penn State over to the Big East, along with I took 4 teams out of the ACC that would belong in the Big East: Pitt, Syracuse, Boston College, and Louisville. Took them up north, and I replaced them with Central Florida and South Florida out of the group of 5 out of the American Conference to make 12 teams in the ACC. I simply took Texas A&M and Missouri and put them back in the Big 12, so I had 12 teams in the SEC. And then I added Houston to the equation with the Big 12, with Texas A&M and Mizzou added. Took West Virginia, threw them back in the Big East, where they were reunited with their old rivals like Boston College and Pitt and Penn State, et cetera, et cetera. Maryland and Rutgers back in the Big East. And then I had a Pac-12 that was something similar to what it is now. Yeah, although I may have moved Colorado. But anyway, it was basically, and I moved Notre Dame into the Big 10. I came up with 12 12 teams in each conference, 6 conferences in the Power 6. So kind of the same philosophy, but I did it in reverse. Jim John loves you, Reasonable Gump. Reasonable Gump is the man, according to Jim John.
Okay, I'll say thank you, but I have no idea who that is. But you asked me what metric we can use to just cut teams in the Power 5. I might add, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened. I mean, like you just said, just about the entire Big East was cut, and they're no longer Power 5 teams. So it wouldn't be an unprecedented move.
Sure it would. You're kicking them out of the Power 5. These teams were just dispersed to other conferences.
which conference is Connecticut in?
Well, Connecticut was okay. Some of them, yes. Connecticut and South Florida would be the examples of teams that then went into the group of 5. Can't think of anyone else. But West Virginia, Rutgers, Pitt, Cincinnati's in a group of 5. Yes. Okay. Those 3 out of 7. I think they had an odd number in their league. I think they only had 7 teams. So 3 of the 7 did go to the group of 5. But you are vanquishing those teams, and they're playing a different, tangibly, technically, a different brand of football and different level of football. I'm not.
It sounds mean, of course. It sounds like I'm being sinister over here and just saying you suck, get out. But I truly do think that if they were competing in a league they could actually have a chance to be competitive in, then their fans, who probably don't care at all about their football program, might actually start showing some interest in it. So I think it actually could end up being a win-win for everybody.
It could be. And the group of 5 teams would have a legitimate championship. One of 2 things has to happen. They need to be included or it needs to be separated. One of 2 things. They're not included now.
And moving to 8 teams and just saying the top group of 5 teams can have the 8th slot, to me, is not a legitimate way of including them. Because that's still saying that only one of you can get lucky enough to get in. Like, if you have 2 13-0 teams, okay, well, guess we're going to flip a coin.
Yep, you're right.
When the Power 5 teams get 7 out of the 8 slots weighted to them. So to me, that's not even that is not legitimate. Although I actually don't. By the way, I'm not over here campaigning for this to happen. This is just a dream sequence that it did. But I mean, most likely we're going to go to 8 teams and nothing will change. They're just going to remain the second-class citizens that the Power 5 schools like to beat up on for money. And occasionally, here or there, they'll lose a game, and everyone will laugh at them. And we're just going to keep repeating this cycle.
I hear you, man. All right, Reasonable Gump.
Well, let's go then.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Reasonable Gump, being reasonable. It's aptly named. Good call. Again, I went through the same exercise. I just took it from a different slant. I took it from the other perspective to say, let's elevate the best in the group of 5 to the Power 5, make it a Power 6, and then play with an even number of teams in each conference. 12 teams per conference, 6 conferences, 72 teams in the Power 5. He is thinking about vanquishing the Vandy's and the Illinois and the Rutgers and the Kansas and the Oregon States of the world. I guess the only issue I have with that is that they have proven, all of those schools in the last 10 to 12 to 15 years have proven to be worthy of Power 5 status. Rutgers used to go to bowl games not too long ago, year after year after year after year. Kansas won an Orange Bowl in 2007. Oregon State was really good in the early 2000s. They were making bowl games as recent as 2008, 9, 10, in that range. Vanderbilt's made bowl games in recent years under James Franklin and now Derek Mason. All right, folks. Again, if there's anybody who's made a comment or question, and I appreciate JT Thompson for contributing to the live chat and the super chat as well. Thank you so much, JT. If you've made any comments or questions that you would like me to respond to, and I've missed them in the live chat, just understand that the application that you see is different than the one that I see that I need to use to bring the comments onto the screen. So many of those are lost. Therefore, if you really want to get your point across to me and have me respond, then please copy and paste your comment and paste it in the comment section of any of the videos. All right, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I will be, let's see, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. How many people are going to watch a Pitt-Syracuse recap? Probably not many. I was thinking about checking out that game and then cutting a recap for tomorrow, but we are going to be all over all the action tomorrow. You know that here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like the videos, comment, share the videos, and subscribe as well to help us build the channel. I know many of you, and I really appreciate this comment more than you would know. Even those folks that disagree with me, there's a number of people that disagree with me and comment on that and really tear me apart and criticize me on a regular basis. But I know that they're watching and that they comment all the time, and I hope they're subscribed. But if they're not, that's fine. But they watch the videos on a regular basis and comment in a fairly reasonable way, and they're critical of my analysis. But I know that they're watching because they comment all the time. So hey. If you love college football and you love the discussion and debate, even if you don't agree with me, we ask that you help us build the channel, because we don't just go with my opinion and my analysis. That's one of the reasons why I bring on some of the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the nation. All right, folks, noon Eastern time. It all gets going again here on another college football weekend with basically to date, UCLA breaks an 11-game losing streak against Stanford on the road. They win an inconsequential game against the Cardinal 34-16 last night. Buckeyes trounced Northwestern 52-3. Fresno State playing right now against UNLV, I believe. Maybe I'll catch the end of that game. And then we've got a big win by Pitt. And again, I know it's under the radar. And when I say big, I mean within the Coastal Division, a big win for Pitt to move to 2-1 in the conference and defeating Syracuse 27-20. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I appreciate all the support, the encouragement that I receive on a daily basis. Keep it up. That keeps me going. We will see you back here tomorrow during what is promised to be, because college football never disappoints, a tremendous college football Saturday.